Congressman Mike Garcia from California joins me. He is a former F-18 pilot in the United States Navy. He's one of the serious members of Congress. I kind of wish he and Crenshaw and Gallagher and Waltz and Zinke and the rest of the combat veterans would get together and speak directly to the members of the House GOP. Good morning, Congressman. Thank you for joining me early in the morning. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me, Hugh. Appreciate it.
Can you give us an update, first of all, about do we have any more information on how many Americans are among the hostages in Gaza?
No, I don't think we've got new information. There may be more information coming out this morning, but obviously what I'm hearing is something still a few dozen in the Gaza. Now, obviously, last night the Israelis called for the evacuation of all UN personnel out of the north regions of Gaza. I think that's an indication of another wave of attacks coming here. So, but we don't have full accounting yet of all Americans, and that is obviously part of the problem.
Now, Congressman, I was speaking offline last night with a retired captain friend of mine who tells me that the Hezbollah arsenal, 140,000 missiles, has the capacity to strike our ships. The president did not name Hezbollah or Iran specifically in his speech on Tuesday. Are you worried about the risks that some terrorist is going to pop off at the American fleet, because those are ship killers?
Yeah, we should be worried about it. It's a very legitimate threat to our fleet. We're in the launch acceptability range of those weapon systems, as you said. So there seems to be a tendency from this administration to bend over backwards to decouple any sort of culpability with Iran and Hezbollah at this point. I think that's a very dangerous. He seems to be an apologist with an appeasement strategy underlying it towards Iran, and that's putting our troops in harm's way. That's putting Israel in greater harm right now as a result of that. So we should assume that that's their intent, and we need to take precautions. And we have the means to suppress that, but they should be on a target list, and we should be eyes wide open that this is a very real threat.
Last question on this. If you want to deter someone from a bad act, you have to tell them, that you're going to assign them responsibility and what will follow. That's what Donald Trump did with the Iranians. They said, you send Soleimani to kill Americans, we'll kill Iranians that you send to Iraq to kill Americans. And Trump did. Should Biden deliver that kind of specificity in his messaging to Iran and Hezbollah?
Yeah, I mean that's the only way to deter, right? You can't just turn a blind eye and try to appease. You have to put a finger in the chest of these guys and not only have the forces there and be present, but have the gall and courage to use them if necessary, and make it very clear that there's an on-ramp here. If you trigger that on-ramp, there's going to be the wrath of 1,000 suns being brought down on you, and this ends poorly for you. That's the only way you prevent a second front from opening up here, and the Israelis need that. They need us to be there in the event of a second front or multiple front war here, and we can't be ambiguous about that.
So now, Congressman, let's turn from the war. It would be nice if we had a Speaker of the House of Representatives to articulate
Yes,
that point
would.
of view, to actually help in the deterrence part. I would guess we must look like a clown show to the rest of the world that we don't have a Congress. The Congress can't function without a Speaker. What is the status in the House GOP since Majority Leader Scalise withdrew and Speaker McCarthy was ousted? Two moves that just I can't understand as a sort of center-right Republican who gets along with everyone. I just can't understand whoever is doing this to the caucus.
Yeah, and if you saw, I gave a floor speech leading up to that motion to vacate, calling it a few Republicans running with scissors, and all the Democrats voted for it as well, obviously. So they didn't know what the goals were. They didn't understand the unintended consequences, and they surely didn't understand, the world order that would follow the days after that. But we are here now, and so we are in complete disarray without a speaker. We can't even bring a motion or a resolution to the floor to condemn Hamas and commit to supporting Israel. We can't even do that right now. So Scalise bowed out. I think that was a mistake. I think we should have forced a vote on the floor. We're having these conference meetings, which are every member of the party in a room, and it's like a therapy session, but they're not trending well. We're actually dividing them. It's like going to a therapy session with your spouse and finding out she had an affair, right? It's good that but it's not positive movement. We need to bring these votes to the floor, and people become less courageous and sort of, a little less friction when they're on the floor. Lights are on, cameras are watching, and the imperative of having a speaker is a very real thing. So if you're going to slow this process down, if you're going to prevent a good American like Steve Scalise from becoming the speaker, then you should be held accountable to that vote on the floor, and the American people should know who you are, should know your name, and should understand the rationale. And we've got to force that. So it sounds like Jim Jordan was going to have an opportunity. He came in second. He had 20 fewer votes than Steve Scalise did a couple of days ago, and so his math problem is a little harder. And this is an even longer putt for Jim Jordan. And I'll support Jim Jordan because at this point we need to have a speaker. But I think there's going to be more holdouts against him than there were against Scalise, unfortunately.
Yeah, you see, I like both men. I thought Speaker McCarthy was doing a fabulous job, a great job. And now we are at
That's
a point where I'm looking to you and Dan Crenshaw, the SEAL, and Ryan Zinke, the SEAL, who's on next hour. I'm looking to Mike Waltz, the Green Beret, Gallagher, the Navy Intel guy. I'm looking Derek Van Orden, the SEAL, to speak to the conference about the risk. We are putting thousands of American sailors at risk. And the American people look at the House GOP and say they can't even elect a speaker?
Yeah, we have been doing that in these conferences behind closed doors, lecturing them. We've been giving them history lessons. We've been giving them geopolitical implication lectures. And for some of these folks, they just don't seem to care. That doesn't resonate with them. They have personal issues or axes to grind, or they just want to be in the spotlight in a couple of cases. So we have been doing that. We've been compelling in these cases, in moving forward. But I think the forcing function is the actual vote on the floor, and we've got to get there. And the reality is, not everyone cares about the same things like Walt and I do, for instance. And they care about other things. They care about media. They care about pressure. They care about social media. And you've got to work that. So
well, I turn to people who've actually been shot at in anger for serious, level-headed conversations, and that would include the people that I named there. Let me ask you, Congressman, from the fighter pilot perspective, the Israeli Air Force is flying thousands of sorties over Gaza, and you know the precision munitions they have. How long? I mean, can you take out a tunnel network from an F-18? I don't know if the Israelis have F-18. I don't think they have, but they've got good fighters.
Yeah, they've got F-15s with a larger capacity, actually longer endurance, more gas, more weapons than the F-18. So very good platform, one that I used to help them develop when I was at Raytheon for 11 years. We gave them sensors and weapons for those. So they have the means. We are going to be seeing a level of penetration and strikes that hasn't been seen in a while here coming up, is my feeling. I don't want to say too much, but yes, they have the means, they have the capacity. The real risk is the opening of a second front war, where we start seeing sort of triaging of defense mechanisms that Iron Dome and David Sling do. They're going to start having to make tough choices on shot doctrine and rules of engagement that they would prefer not to if a second front is open. So they're going to be able to make it rain longer than Hamas can tread water, and they can do so against Hezbollah as well. But it's going to be very bloody. It's going to come with a lot of collateral damage, unfortunately, and they're going to be willing to make those trades to end this war. If there's one takeaway, Hugh, it's that Israel knows how to fight. They know how to win, and they know how to end wars with an outcome that is favorable to them, and they will achieve that. And they will take whatever steps necessary. We just need to give them the maneuvering space and the resources to do so. Make sure that their magazine depth, in terms of having enough ammo, is there, and that's something we in Congress need to make sure we're doing. This is why we have to have a speaker put in place so we can pass these bills.
Yeah, it's an executive branch obligation in the first instance. Nixon said, "Send everything that can fly" in 1973, 50 years ago during the Yom Kippur War. I know we're trying to rush stuff, but eventually you need an authorization, right? Eventually Congress has to act.
That's right. Yeah. And we've got the support of the body right now. This should be a relatively quick, process. And I don't trust this executive branch. I know you're very aware of the gaps we have in the Navy right now. We have one of the worst secretaries of the Navy that we've ever had, and Secretary Austin's a very passive Secretary of Defense underneath the weakest commander-in-chief that we've had in the history of the country. So Congress needs to be in this conversation. We need to be the strongest and most durable leg of this three-legged stool, and right now we're not. So this is a real problem. We'll get through it.
Do you expect a vote on Congressman Jordan today inside the caucus?
I don't know. I'm frustrated by the constipation of the process. Like, we want to get together and have rules conversations and amendments to the rules. Let's just have the vote. So if I was running the show, we would be on the floor today having a vote on Jordan. But I don't run the show right now. So I'm going to be pushing for that, and we need to force the hand here and get the clarity. People just want clarity, and clarity, remarkably, clarity comes quicker when you're actually on the floor.
Oh, I'm not surprised. There are Republicans who do not want to be the problem in public right now because their careers will be over, and
That's
they
right.
should be if they stop this. Congressman Mike Garcia from California, thank you for joining me, Congressman. Keep up the good work.
you.
Good luck in bringing some military order and common sense and seriousness to the caucus conversations today. It's just unbelievable to me that we've gone through McCarthy and Scalise and we can't. And that maybe now Jordan can't get. They're all fine people. They're all conservatives. I do not know what is. I have no explanation for what a handful of Republicans are doing. The Democrats have their fringe too, but they stay in line when it comes down to organizing the Congress, the squad. They're crazy people. I mean, Rashid Tlaib won't even condemn the Hamas massacre.